The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Ylan Kazi. Ylan is the Chief Data Officer at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota. Ylan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So Ylan, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with every guest. Could you give us an overview of your journey in technology, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way? Take us up to today as the Chief Data Officer for Blue Cross Blue Shield North Dakota.
Sure. Yeah, I have a non-traditional background. I started off in healthcare consulting on the revenue cycle side for hospitals. And from there, from that position, that's when I really started to utilize healthcare analytics and started to lead healthcare analytics teams. From there, I moved over to Target's healthcare division at the time, where I also built and led various business analytics teams. From there, I moved over to United Health Group, where I was able to lead different data science teams, both in the US and also in Ireland. And that was an area where we developed different data science and machine learning capabilities to improve healthcare outcomes for the Medicare population. More recently, I was Chief Data Officer at Children's Mercy down in the Kansas City area. So I was their first Chief Data Officer and really tasked with building out their long-term strategy and transforming data within the organization. And most recently, currently, I'm the Chief Data Officer at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota, and really helping the organization transform how they use data, as well as providing a high level of service to the members that we serve as an organization.
Thank you for that, Ylan. Appreciate it. Really set the stage for the bulk of what we're going to talk about today. You mentioned there you're the Chief Data Officer at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota. As a brand, Blue Cross Blue Shield is very well known across the US, but I want to first help set the stage so we can truly understand your role and responsibilities. Can you explain to us how the org structure works from Blue Cross Blue Shield as a whole to then the broken up by state, and how that impacts your role as the Chief Data Officer?
Sure. So at an overall level, there's the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association, which is really what I'd say is more of the overall body of Blue Cross. And then within the organization, you'll have different independent licensees. So sometimes they'll be state specific, and then other times they may be region specific. So Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota is the largest provider of healthcare coverage in the state of North Dakota. And it offers different group and individual coverage, care supplement, stop loss coverage, and administrative services for self-funded health plans. So definitely a huge player in the state, and that's really the bulk of the territory for the organization.
Thank you, Ylan. The background really helps us visualize the structure of the business, how it works in conjunction with Blue Cross Blue Shield as a whole, and the size of the business area. Leads nicely then into our next question would be, talk to us about your role as the Chief Data Officer. What are the primary objectives? What sort of data sets are you working with? What is the team structure like? And give us a better sense of what you're doing with the data available to you.
Yeah, the main role that I have is to really help the organization find value in their data. At a very high level, everything needs to be very value driven, and utilizing the many data assets at our disposal to provide better insights, and I think holistically to provide a better level of service to the members that we serve. Within the team and just the overall team structure, we have a few different areas. Heavy focus on analytics and reporting. I would say that's the bulk of our team, probably the biggest vertical that we have. We also have focus areas with data engineering and data architecture. So really ensuring that we have the right data, that it's architected appropriately, and that it's easy to use and access. We have data governance, which is, I'd say, a little bit earlier in that journey, but really using governance to understand all of the various data assets that we can use, and then having an eye towards the future on determining what are the data sets that we want to potentially acquire and connect to some of our existing data. And then we also have a healthcare insights team. So very focused on many of the clinical analytics, population health, and various program support as well.
Ylan, so obviously a multifaceted role and responsibilities that you and your team have. From the outside, before you made the move, what was it that drew you to this position, Blue Cross Blue Shield North Dakota? What were the main things that made you think, look, I want to take on this project over some of the other great opportunities available to you?
Yeah, I would say there were three things that drew me here. The first one was just the overall culture. The culture of the organization is very strong. It's very member driven, and people trust each other within the organization, so that everybody that you're working with, whether it's leaders, different stakeholders, they're all always assuming positive intent. And really the goal is to work together to better help our members. So very, very culture centric. The second thing that drew me up was the people. I think we spend a large part of our lives working, and you want to be able to work with people who are hardworking, who can also have fun on the side as well. And so I think there's a good balance of people working hard, but also having lives outside of work, which I think is very important. And then I'd say the last thing is just the opportunity itself. So it's a brand new position for the organization, and the organization has really made data a key priority. As we look forward, there are different capabilities that we're going to be building together. And I think having the right support and the right level of investment is pretty unique to this organization. In talking with my peers, there are a lot of challenges with any chief data officer position, and having this level of support it's gone a very long way, and I'm very fortunate to have it.
Happy to hear you say that, because I think when we have guests on the show, a lot of it is talking about the product or the technology, but you started with culture and people. And I think that's so important, and great to hear that at the senior leadership level, that was the thing that you focused on most. I do, however, want to go back to the point that you said is data being a priority for the business and what that is going to mean over the next few years. So I know there's some projects that you're working on that you can't fully disclose right now, but speaking more broadly, when you look at the project roadmap and the focus on data being a priority, what are some of the things that you're most excited about to work on, and what impact do you see it having both for the business and patient experience?
I think from my side, what really excites me about these next few years is, first off, having the right support and having the excitement of the organization. So there's a lot of excitement around wanting to better utilize data to help the members that we serve, and finding new ways of aligning it to our overall business priorities. From my standpoint, I want to make sure that the stakeholders and leaders that I work with have the right insights at their fingertips to really make better decisions and to drive better impact and value for our members. So that at an overall foundational level is where I'm focusing on. As we continue forward, it's really looking at what are some of those additional capabilities that we can continue to add and utilize for the overall business. Things like data science and machine learning, and having those become a bigger part of the work that we do. And then in addition to that, kind of defining a more robust data governance process, which will also help ensure much faster insights to action, and just kind of removing any of the roadblocks that are in place for when our business stakeholders want to utilize the data that we have within the organization.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
So, if there's going to be such a focus, a continued focus on data science, machine learning, that will obviously require continued investment in people. So, you can add to the skill sets, you can add to the team and work on these projects. I know it's difficult to say with certainty given where we're at this point of the year, but over the medium term, what sort of hiring do you anticipate coming up? What opportunities career wise are there going to be for people who like what they're hearing, want to work within AI and data, but having an impact within healthcare? Where do you see you needing to strengthen your own data team over the next 12 months or so?
I would say in almost all the areas that we have on the team, we're going to be growing in various ways. Eventually, we do want to be more full service data science and using machine learning more broadly. But in order to do that, it's going to require having trusted, governed catalog data at our disposal. And so some of the more immediate roles are just in our data engineering vertical. So data engineers are extremely important within the overall data ecosystem. So very important role, and I think unique in our case because we're working with healthcare data, member data, and all of the data that we work with it comes down to individuals. Like these are individual people that we're trying to better help and better serve. And I think that's unique within the overall healthcare industry. We're also in need of data analysts. So really making sense, providing insights, creating dashboards that convey a good story that can lead to our stakeholders and our leaders taking more data-driven actions to help the overall business and improve health outcomes. I would say the only other role that comes to mind is around data architecture. So having data architects that can think about our overall structure holistically and ensuring we have the right architectural foundations where we can ingest data easier, we can create insights faster, and then eventually deliver a coherent message to our stakeholders. So definitely growing in many of those areas. I think one of the parts that I love about the organization is we're a centralized data team. There are no other data teams within the organization. And we have the ability to move a lot more quickly than very large organizations. So a lot less red tape and being very execution driven.
Final question from me then, Ylan. As the chief data officer there, you're working on strategy, you're working with the various business units, you have a layer of managers beneath you, but you're also involved in the interview process and hiring talented people within the world of data and AI can sometimes be difficult. And a lot of it is about um, promoting the opportunity as much as screening for suitable people. So final question for me is when you're sat talking to a candidate who you think could add value to the Blue Cross Blue Shield North Dakota, what is it that you tell them about the work, the mission, the environment, and the leadership that gets them excited to join over some of the great opportunities available?
Yeah, I really start with the overall mission and vision of the organization. So our mission is to simplify healthcare, ensure affordability, and elevate well-being. And our vision is a new level of health and well-being in North Dakota and beyond. And I think it's important to start there because in any role, regardless of what level you are, if your personal belief system and guidance is aligned to the organizational vision and mission, it's going to make for a much more robust career. And it's gonna make it an easier work environment because you're dedicated to the mission, the vision, the values of the organization. The other thing I talk a lot about is the ability for Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota to be a lot more nimble and adaptable because it is a little bit smaller than some of the other organizations. And for me personally, I really enjoyed that. We don't need to have 20 different sign-offs to take an action. If it's going to help our members and help the business, there's a very high degree of autonomy, regardless of what level you have in the organization, to do the right thing. And then I'd say lastly, just the ability to be part of an overall data transformation. It's pretty rare to come in on the ground floor of it. And I think for the right person, it can be just a very exciting opportunity and can be very meaningful to help build something into where we think it can go to.
Ylan, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. Firstly, great to learn about your own background and your journey becoming a chief data officer. But the insight into what you've described at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Dakota is fascinating. It really does sound like the best of both worlds. You've got the brand recognition of a global firm, but you've got the ability to be agile and invest in data and make quick decisions without several layers of red tape, which is exciting. And given the investment in data over the months and years to come, it sounds like it could be a great place for people to work. And the impact of your mission is obviously one that's we can all get behind, improving hospital systems. So we wish you the best of luck in the months and years to come, and we look forward to having you back on the show.
Well, thank you, JP, and thanks for the conversation today.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.